Huh?
2 of them?
Congratulations, you can count. And they say the school system's failing.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell where he had her, because when Peter runs up into the room, I thought like maybe he's silhouetted in front of the trees and with the moonlight. I thought maybe he was in some massive window, but it didn't even look like that.
No, he broke through the wall.
Did he break through the wall? I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, there was a big crack in the wall. I saw a giant hole in the wall.
Okay, so I must have missed that. But Peter tries to stop him, but then is knocked back, and that's when Doc Ock hits the wall. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I thought there was a big clump and then there was a hole in the wall.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, and then Doc Ock hits the ceiling with his tentacles, and a bunch of rubble falls on Peter and stops him. So Doc Ock then leaves with Felicia. Later, Peter is being questioned by the FBI as he's being tended to by EMTs.
Also, just a side thing, so that takes down Peter Parker, right? Getting all the rubble on him.
Yeah.
And then later on, he gets chucked out a window and falls into a bunch of rubble, but then gets back up immediately and is Spider-Man.
That's true, yeah, because that rubble really wouldn't stop him, would it?
No, and it does not stop him later on with the same scenario.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. So later on, we then see Peter is being questioned by the FBI in the room as he's being tended to by
the
EMTs.
FBI agent, what a prick.
I know, he's just laughing at his story and being like, tentacles? Octopus? What are you on about? And also, how does he know
like,
Octopus?
mate, there is a Spider-Man swimming around our city.
I know. And also, why is Octopus brought into it? Just because he's got 4 robotic arms. He never once says, I'm Dr. Octopus.
Yeah,
so
and also, why does he have 4 when it's Octopus and it's 8?
Because he's got 4 other limbs, you tit.
All right. Got him.
Jolly good. Although he's not doing much with his feet, is he? As a limb. He's like, I'm going to tickle you with my toes. That was more Kingpin than anything. Oh well. I
don't know how to do his voice.
I know, he's like, I am Otto Octavius. No, I can't.
Otto, yeah. I have to go like a yeah, Otto Octavius, yeah.
You sound like the bad guys out of Beer Fest.
Oh yeah, my name is Otto Octavius. I'm going to fight this Spooderman.
But first I'm going to tickle you with my tentacles.
I'm going to tickle you with my little tossy words. Oh, look, this piggy went to the market.
Fun fact, by the way, have you ever listened to... do you know what this little piggy went to the market means?
No.
It's not about a little, like, oh, yeah, this went to the market. It meant in the sense of, oh, this little piggy went to the market because it is ready to be butchered and sold as food.
Ooh, that's dark.
Yeah, like every other fucking nursery rhyme from our childhood.
That's true, yeah. All right, well, fun fact. Cheers for that.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. Welcome.
as the FBI is laughing at Peter Parker's story, Felicia's mum...
like, what, was he German as well?
Yeah. Was he a doctor too? Come on.
And it's like, do you know him?
Yeah. Are you working with him? So Felicia's mum comes in and has no idea what's going on. She's too busy living it up on her fucking new yacht, I guess, to have any idea. And she's given a note with ransom demands for Felicia by the FBI, and it's signed Dr. Octavius, which she recognised. Suddenly, the FBI is taking her seriously. They're laughing at Peter's story that Felicia's been kidnapped by a dude with tentacles and has caused this whole thing. Then, a ransom note comes into the picture, and they're like, "Oh, this is serious now. We should probably pay attention." Also, the mum is here, and she's got money, so she's legit.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so the Hardy Foundation, she explains, refused to fund his experiments, so he must want revenge. So she pretty much wraps that plot up right there, where she's like, this happened, and on we go.
Yeah, but we do see it later on what happens.
We do, yeah, true. So Peter's inner monologue allows us to flash back to a memory of when he was 10 years old and he was brought to science camp by his Uncle Ben.
I love that. Even at science camp, he's the kid that gets picked on.
Yeah. First time, by the way, we see Uncle Ben in the series.
Yeah, it's true.
And he's ever mentioned. So he hears Otto Octavius, he remembers the name, and we flash back to him being a kid in science camp and being made fun of, and Otto basically being like, Science, do it for science, Peter. So we cut to Doc Ock working on a massive computer in a large laboratory as Felicia is bound and hangs from her arms 15 feet or so above the ground. Felicia asks her captor who he is, and Dr. Octopus replies, and we hear him talk for the first time.
He says, "Oh, you didn't know?" No.
Not quite. He says, "Who am I? What's in a name? An octopus."
Yeah, that was really silly.
It's so bad. An octopus by any other name would still be as deadly. And you're like, why did you just even try and pull, like, well, that's a Shakespeare reference, isn't it? What's in a name?
I have no idea.
I believe it is, and if I'm wrong, fuck it. But still, it's...
No, that's not how you spread. That's how you spread false information.
But
you're like, I don't know if I'm right, but if I'm not, fuck it. Thanks, everybody.
Actually, it is a Shakespeare, and it's Romeo and Juliet, because what's in a name? A name by any other rose, or a rose by any other name. Sorry, that's it. So he's trying to do Romeo and Juliet, but instead he's just incorporating an octopus by any other name would still be as deadly.
Am I a Capulet? Am I a Montague? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of saying a rose by any other name would still be as sweet, he says an octopus by any other name would still be as deadly, which is really weird. It's like,
that's a big pull for children that are just like, what?
Yeah, and also, all right, we get it. You're trying to be super smart, but you're just coming off smug, so shut the fuck up.
The kids would be like, Romeo Juliet, is that the Leonardo DiCaprio movie?
So, what's very funny as well is that he doesn't need to be cryptic because he signed the ransom note earlier. So why is he trying to be cryptic with Felicia by like, what's in a name? An octopus by another name would still be as deadly. He signed the ransom note Otto Octavius. So
Dr. Otto Octavius, kiss.
But if you ask me my name, I'm going to give you a riddle and also a Romeo and Juliet line.
I feel like he uses that little thing for everything, where it's like, so you haven't paid your check. Check? What's in a check?
Yeah. Rent? What's rent?
Yeah, what's in a rent? Mm-hmm.
Now I sound like the guy from Spider-Man 2 and 3. He's like, rent, pay me rent. So Felicia's afraid of the tentacles, doesn't understand why she's involved, and Dr. Octopus decides, I'm going to tell you why you're involved, and he decides to flash back to explain everything. So we see Otto Octavius with two other scientists who laugh at his experiment of using cold fusion in a battery.
Why would they just be laughing at it? Like, your great idea for help bringing down fossil fuels, you crazy man.
Let me guess, you're going to create tentacles that can do the work for you, that will attach themselves to your spine and your brain, right?
That's not a bad idea.
For science! Thank you, Dee. Oh my god, Felicia could be Dee Dee, and we could have our own Dexter's Lab with these two characters. Felicia! For science! So, we see Otto then going to the Hardy Foundation and getting funding for his cold fusion experiment. Then we see him with tentacle arms, using them for handling the hazard material. Then his grant is cut off for being too slow with his results, so Otto then ends up broke and still experimenting in this like really run-down basement, and he doesn't have
sweating nuts as well.
Yeah, and he doesn't have like even AC or any proper.
It's so damn hot in this basement.
And for such a smart guy that comes up with all these like fancy Shakespearean answers, he ends up doing the dumbest thing, which is like, I have no safety equipment, I have no air conditioning, and I'm just going to work in this rundown building in the basement. It's totally safe. Don't worry.
With one of his core like fusion things, he could have ran like 1 million air conditioning units.
Yeah.
He only needed about one.
Yeah. And he's still wearing his tentacles. He's like, don't worry, it's totally safe.
Oh, these bloody tentacles on my back.
Yes, sweating balls. So a massive explosion occurs, and out of the rubble after the explosion comes a limp Octavius who's being carried by his tentacles. I did like the shot because you just see his silhouette and you see the tentacles climb out and kind of maneuver out of the rubble, and you know he's unconscious and the tentacles are doing all the work.
I just thought it was not a very good explanation, like, and now they're fused to me.
Yeah,
like, I think so. Even the Spider-Man 2 film did a better job with it, like, convincing me that this could happen.
I was just about to say that. I love, I suppose Sam Raimi kind of, well, he would just take from this episode. I do like the limp body with the tentacles carrying, which is kind of used in Spider-Man 2 when he's having that surgery and he has no idea when Otto Octavius is having the surgery. But I do love that scene in that surgery room with the tentacles basically being like a horror movie and they're a monster, and you see through their vision as they're taking out all these surgeons.
Yeah.
And Otto has no idea. So yeah, we cut back to JJ.
Oops, Butterfingers.
Oh, Butterfingers. So we cut back to JJ addressing Octavius on his J3 communications channel.
Oh, I love this.
I also love that he calls it J3, because I was like, why does he call it J3? And then I realised, oh, J. Jonah Jameson, 3 J's, J3 Communications.
Oh.
I was like, that's pretty cool. And he demands to know what Octavius wants.
That would be the name of his YouTube channel. Where he rants to
that would be. Oh man, that's such a good idea. So he demands to know what Octavius wants to ensure Felicia's safety. The phone
grinds my gears. Fireman.
But right now, hello Octavius, what do you want with Felicia? So the phone rings. Robbie and the FBI give JJ tips on how to handle the negotiation, and JJ gets really annoyed with both of them. He's like, yeah, I fucking got it. Like, Robbie, get out of my face. FBI, fuck off. I know what I do with this. I know what I'm doing. So JJ gets on the phone, starts talking with Doc Ock, who insists they stay on the air during their conversation so everyone can hear it. JJ asks about Felicia, and Octavius is kind of cagey with his answer, which then sends JJ into a rage and just unleashes a list of PG-rated insults, doesn't it? He just goes like...
Oh, he's great. He's just like, you're pathetic.
Yeah.
He's like, you're not a scientist. Like, you're the worst.
Yeah.
And I was just like, God damn, Jonah, cutting deep.
I know, he was going for it, and everyone's like, no. And even Peter Parker's like, trust JJ to be the one that does this. Always the tactful guy.
Yes, what does he say? He's like, scientist, didn't you work in a basement?
Yeah. And he's like, with no air conditioning, but we're not going to talk about that.
You probably smell.
You do
like seafood.
You do a good JJ, man. I like your JJ a lot.
Thank you. It's not free candy.
So
that's all I say in my head to get into that voice. It's not free candy.
So Doc Ock is then insulted enough to demand that JJ deliver the money personally to him. He tells JJ that he will fax him the address details later. And I love that. He's like, I will fax you details later. Because back then, there's no email, there's nothing like that. So that's very good. And how they even tried to go to that extent to explain where Doc Ock is hiding and how JJ finds him. So JJ then arrives at the address with a briefcase in hand. He's alone but doesn't know Spider-Man is following him. And I do like that. I like JJ going into this and he has no idea that Spider-Man is tailing him.
Yeah.
And obviously the hero is trying to be led to the villain. So JJ walks in and is grabbed by a tentacle and brought face to face with Dr. Octopus. I love how much JJ is used in all these early episodes. I thought it was really cool that we don't just see him at the Daily Bugle, like reaming out Parker and like smoking a cigar.
No, he's a proper character, and that's why he's always been one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, and it's because of this show, because he's used so much. I mean, think about how much we've seen him in this show, and not just being...
He's been in every episode so far.
He has, and like plays a major part in the second Spider Slayer episode, doesn't he? And he does a load of stuff.
In the first one.
And the first one, and then he does a lot in this one. So he's a really...
With the lizard, he's in that one as well. Yeah, he's a prominent character.
Yeah, he is. So JJ tells Doc Ock that he's alone and the FBI promised to stay clear. He then asks Felicia. He asks for Felicia, but is denied. Doc Ock takes the briefcase, is then about to squeeze JJ to death in his tentacles, but then Spider-Man swings in and interrupts, and we get our first encounter of Doc Ock with Spider-Man. And I do love this attack because you see Spider-Man dodging the tentacles, flipping, dodging, weaving as he's jumping over all those crates and boxes, and Doc Ock is just firing his tentacles left and right at him. And it feels like for the first time we actually see like an aerobatical fight.
A what?
An aerobatical, isn't that a word?
I've never heard that word. If it's a word, I will use it all the time now.
Aerobatical, let's look that up. A what?
What?
I mean, how else would you say
An aerobatic?
An aerobatical fight?
An aerobatic fight?
I am aerobatical? No, I'm wrong. No such
I've
word.
never heard that word, so I'm glad we've solved that mystery.
Well, I just made it
was... How many times have you been like, my word, the circus today was so aerobatical?
Yeah, because I go to the circus loads.
You're like, my new band name is Radical Aerobatical. Everyone come see me, guys. Oh, your wife will kill you right now.
Listen, fuckface, you thought that you thought pyrotechnics wasn't fireworks, which they are. So,
Well, no, I wouldn't say I didn't think they were. I think I was making an argument to try and cover something up.
yes, exactly.
At least I didn't make up aerobatical.
All right. Anyway, I'd made that word up. We're moving on. So I do what I'm
Why
saying.
don't you take a sabbatical on your aerobatical?
I am taking a sabbatical right now, technically. So we see them fight for the first time, which is what I'm saying is very cool to see. Until Doc Ock then captures Spider-Man in his tentacles. He throws him from wall to wall. And he says, "You think your spider powers are a match for my unbreakable hydraulic tentacles?" And I like how he describes exactly what they are in that sentence, where you're like, "Oh, okay, that works." Because I've always wondered what they are, those tentacles.
Yeah, but do you understand what he means when he says that?
Well, they're unbreakable, so we know that they can't be burned,
broken.
Well, yeah,
they're unbreakable, so they can't be broken.
I didn't say broken. I said burnt or destroyed.
I'm just taking this, mate.
And then hydraulics, that explains how they can extend and then come back into him as well. And why they can go great lengths, and then they can also be only 4 feet long when they're just hanging out on his back. So yeah, I thought that was a little cool fact. I don't know about you.
Nope, didn't think about it twice.
So Doc Ock then raises Spidey up high, and he's going to bring him down for the killing blow, but he's webbed in the face, and that stops him from managing to take Spidey out. Then he now has twice the hostages, considering he's got JJ and Felicia, and he gets the upper hand, and he wants twice the ransom. So he gives Spider-Man 24 hours, and he chucks him out an open window, and Spider-Man lands into the water of the Bay Area.
I love how there's a little scene here where Spider-Man's swimming for 3 seconds.
Yeah, Spider-Man pops up and swims, but this is one of my favourite bits of the whole episode because of the music that goes with it. The moment he pops up out of the water, the Spider-Man theme kicks in, even though he's just swimming. It's bam, bam, ba 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 bam, ba 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 bam, ba 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 bam, and you're just like, fuck yeah, Spider-Man, you swim, you get back there. It was so weird, but I was just like, I'm pumped up watching Spider-Man swimming right now because of this music.
Greatest 2 seconds of my day.
Spider-Man goes back into the building, but unfortunately everyone is gone. So we cut to Felicia's mum, who's being consoled by Robbie as Spider-Man is in the window frame, and he's basically just told them what's happened by him interfering. Both JJ and Felicia are now being held captive, and Robbie is disappointed in Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, I felt bad.
Yeah, he says, "I used to defend you against Jonah, saying that the city is better off because of you. Maybe I was wrong." And you're just like, oh, Robbie, cutting deep.
Well, even Spidey says that. He's like, wow.
Yeah.
I can fight Dr. Order Octavius, but those words cut deep.
Yeah, he does. He's like, you got me deep, Robbie, you got me deep. So Spider-Man goes back home and realises if Spider-Man can't save Felicia, then maybe Peter Parker can. So we cut to the Daily Bugle, and Robbie runs into a room saying a tape has just arrived. He pops it in front of the FBI and Miss Hardy. Felicia and JJ are tied up in the video, and Doc Ock says that the time is up and he will be calling at 10 a.m. So suddenly Peter shows up and pleads with Robbie and the FBI to let him talk to Octavius, as he knows him. They say no at first, but Miss Hardy wants to hear him out. The phone rings, Peter answers. It's amazing to me how the FBI is like, no kid, we're the FBI, and he's like, but I know him. And then Miss Hardy's like, give him a chance, professionally trained special agents, and they're like, all right kid, go for it, we're not getting anything.
He puts his hand out like, after you.
Yeah. So the phone rings, Peter answers, and he tells them that after science camp, he read everything that Octavius published. Doc Ock asks if he had read his article on fusion potential of the super collider, which I thought was great because that was a test, and Peter does not fall for it. And he's like, "You didn't write that," and he's like, "Very good, Parker." I thought that was
I like that little test to see if you're paying attention.
Yes, and you are a man of science.
Of science. Didi! Omelette, fromage.
So Doc Ock asks Peter if he knows about his cold fusion battery, which Peter does know about. He knows about the experiments that he used to do back when the Hardys were funding it. He is then instructed to bring the ransom, and Doc Ock will show it to him. So Peter walks up to an abandoned assembly plant with a briefcase. Usually, it's the spider that traps the fly, not the octopus that traps the spider. A very lame line from Spider-Man there. I was like, come on.
Got him.
Yeah, really, that was very clever. Those two really relate. Peter is then hit with the spotlight and the briefcase is taken away by a tentacle. Doc Ock then shows Peter his cold fusion battery, a battery powerful enough to power a dozen nuclear power plants. And
I was like, only a dozen?
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, this is your life work and all you're doing is a dozen?
It's very small. I will build a bigger one.
I'm doing it for science. Shut up.
Yeah, shut up. You don't know a shit about science.
He's now French.
My name is Dr. Octopus.
You don't know a shit about the science.
My name is Chef de Puss. I killed the puss.
I serve 8 meals a day. No more, no less.
I'm going to turn you into fried calamari.
Peter is worried that the cold fusion battery will blow up again like last time, but Doc Ock knows it's a risk, but the explosion that happened last time welded the tentacle arms to his spine and made him what he is, a merging of flesh and metal. The arms respond to his every thought, so now we know exactly how they work. Felicia then says, reminds me of Flash Thompson, all hands. And I was like, Felicia's got the best pun of the whole... Yeah, the best pun of the whole show, or this episode, is Felicia. Again, she's just like knocking it out of the park with her puns.
She's bent.
Yeah, Peter Parker needs to take notes from Felicia Hardy on those.
Yeah, he's probably like, God damn it, she's
yeah. So, with his tentacles, he can do his work more effectively, and they also serve as great weapons, so he's basically saying...
I've been having the most amazing wanks of my life.
Have you ever sat on your hand, Peter, for like an hour until it went numb?
I believe it's called a stranger, Peter.
He's now French still.
Yeah, because I could do a French accent better than the Dr. Octopus, so from now on I'm just going to stick to the French.
You don't have to do the stranger anymore, Peter. You just take one of my many arms and you just apply it.
It's like having 4 strangers, Peter.
Have you ever cupped the balls and played with yourself?
You've been thinking about this a lot, haven't you, Octopus? My God, I forgot all about my cold fusion. Do you know what? Fuck all of this. I'm going home.
You know what is the opposite of cold fusion? It's in my pants. So, Peter then asks for the hostages to be released, and Doc Ock says that the money is only one of the many payments he wishes to receive, which is messed up. So he's basically been like, no, I want this money and I'll keep them as long as I like and I'll have more. He then attacks Peter with his tentacles and throws him out the window. JJ and Felicia think that...
Yeah, which he just survives from.
Which he survives
from.
Like
before.
Yeah. JJ and Felicia think that Parker is dead, and JJ legit sounds way more upset than Felicia does.
No, he doesn't. I thought actually he didn't sound very upset.
Well, he's like, you're a monster. Like, he like calls him a monster.
No, he goes like, nah, even Parker didn't deserve that.
Oh, he does say that.
I'm like, that's not very nice.
Yeah, but then Felicia's just like, no. That's all she says. Like, oh shit, he's gone. That means that I'm gonna...
Well, they're not that close.
Well, Parker thinks they are, but she's just like, I guess I've just lost my tutor. I'm going to fail.
Yeah, later on, it's like, so, when I fell out that window, I didn't really hear that you were very upset.
But then, of course, he's not dead. Spider-Man appears and fights Dr. Octopus. And I love the way that Doc Ock moves. He makes the use of his tentacles to carry himself, to defend himself, and attack. Like, I like how he's always elevated above the ground, and he's using the use of all of them. It's just, I
will say that I like this fight that they proved that he's a smarter fighter than Spider-Man.
Yes.
But he wasn't going to fall for his tricks. And he set him up in the classic, like, you must choose between this, like, the person you love or fighting me. Like, I thought that was very classic superhero / classic Spider-Man. It wasn't like an exciting fight, but it was a good battle of wits, which is what it should be.
Yeah, exactly, especially because Peter looked up to this guy as a kid, learned a lot from him, and probably was inspired to pursue, I suppose, looking into science more, because of Otto Octavius. So that I'll always love that with Spider-Man, where something from his past, or in Peter Parker's life, is then blended into his life as Spider-Man and having to fight a bad guy.
Yeah.
So Peter or Spider-Man then figures he will use a dynamo to immobilize his tentacles, and he tells us in the most like educational way, dynamos make electricity by spinning a coil and creating a magnet or an electromagnet. And you're like, okay, thanks for that. So basically,
I'm learning something.
Yep, thanks for just telling me you're about to
also
create
this
a
is
magnet.
a rock. He's hiding out in a abandoned rocket making factory.
Yeah, like there's this giant jet like propulsion piece, isn't there, that would go on a spaceship that's just like hanging out
No,
there.
yeah, just for rockets. And I was like, right, so they're just building rockets in New York. And also, like, is that what they do? Like, there's just a factory line that comes along, and it's like, all right, test the giant rocket engines in this building, not outside or anything. Like, let's do it with shut windows and doors. And let all those, like, think of all the smoke and excess fuel that would just fill up the room.
Do you think that maybe it was because the cold fusion is involved with like the rocket propulsion, and that's why Doc Ock is there?
No, all these, even Spider-Man is like, oh, this is the perfect place for any supervillain to hide out.
I guess.
And if it's abandoned, like, wouldn't you take all of that stuff and sell it off instead of just leaving everything? Like, their version of abandoned is like, hey guys, we're cancelled. That's it. So everyone go home. They're like, and the owner's just like, yeah, okay, all right, I'm leaving. Like, no, don't take anything.
Or they went to the bar for like happy hour, and they come back and they're like, what the fuck?
I have a sandwich in the fridge. Nope, you gotta leave that. We're going.
You're fired. Spider-Man then creates this magnet, and Doc Ock is then stuck to it. But Spider-Man, in doing so, has also activated the assembly line, and a rocket engine is then being carried over above Felicia and JJ, who are still tied up and helpless. So it's like, oh, how convenient. But I do like the double jeopardy. So if Spider-Man turns off the dynamo, then he faces the full fury of Dr. Octopus. Or he can keep it on, and the hostages are going to be burnt to a crisp. And I do like Spider-Man's line, as obviously he makes his decision where he's like, that's what I love about life, choices, because he knows that no matter what, he's fucked with whatever choice he chooses. So Spider-Man turns off the machine, and he swings up to untie Felicia and JJ, but then he is attacked by Dr. Octopus, who's now loose again. Spider-Man is caught in Dr. Octopus's grip. Octavius turns on the machine to start the fuel engine from igniting, and Spider-Man struggles in the tentacle's grip as he spots another electromagnet. And it's like, how many fucking magnets are just like hanging around here?
Well, the magnet's hanging around because I assume that that's what was holding up the bits of the rocket, right, when they were taking the fuel out.
Oh, good
testing.
point. Oh, yep. Plot hole solved. Thanks for that. That makes a lot of
Welcome.
sense.
That's what I'm here for. The only reason.
So he webs Doc Ock right in the eyes as he's dropped, and it's like spunking in his face. It's just like right in his fucking eyes. It's even used in the intro, isn't it, of the show? And Spider-Man tries to trick Octavius to come closer to the magnet, but as you were saying earlier, he doesn't fall for that shit because he's a lot smarter than Peter, which I do like as well. I think that was really well done, where he's like, I'm not your usual villain. Like, I'm not going to fall for that shit. I know what you're trying to do. And he knows that the rocket fuel is about to ignite, and Spider-Man knows that he can't make it to the hostages without being stopped by Dr. Octopus. So he grabs the cold fusion battery and chucks it over towards his head, and Octavius in horror goes to save his life's work and is then attracted by the magnet, and he's then stuck to it, putting him out of commission. So Spider-Man thinks, okay, well, if I can't stop you, I'm going to take away the one thing you love the most, which is obviously the battery. Spidey swings up to JJ and Felicia, saves them before they're then fucking like barbecued to a pulp. And JJ lets out this amazing scream as he swings away. I love it so much. He's like, ah! It's so good.
It's like, I'm saving you.
I love Ed Asner. Like, imagine seeing Ed Asner do that in the studio. Just like, all right, Ed, give us your scream now. He's like, all right. Like, you know, the old man from Up is suddenly like, ah! So Felicia hugs Spider-Man and thanks him, and then she realizes, like, oh shit, Peter Parker's probably dead in a pile of crap outside. So she runs out, and Peter quickly web-slings out there, and he changes in the rubble. Probably the most fastest he's ever had to put on his clothes in his life.
Yeah, and also, he gets under the rubble in the Spider-Man costume. So while he's on the rubble, he's probably like,
yeah, that's going to be really tough,
on.
right? Yeah, he's going to oh shit, like, I've got rubble in my face, I've got rubble in every fucking area of my body, and I can't change right now. Yeah, how does he do that?
No idea.
That's very true. So Felicia then finds that Peter is alive, miraculously, and Peter asks her if she wants to go on another date, and she replies with, I usually don't allow myself to be taken hostage on a first date, which just sounds mad creepy. Like, do you allow it on the second date, Felicia? You're like, I'm okay with being...
Yup.
Yeah. She's like, I just saw that 50 Shades Darker because I went to see Black Panther, but instead I saw 50 Shades Darker, and I'm okay with being a hostage on the second date. That's okay. And of course we then cut to a prison where we see Doc Ock is sitting and his metal arms are all clamped tightly into the four corners of the room. Stone walls not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage, not against the genius of Dr. Octopus, which is a very famous poem by Richard Lovelace in 1642, except for he doesn't have the Dr. Octopus part in it. But it's a very famous.
I love that he's like a scientist, but he's like he loves a bit of poetry.
Yeah, he's a bit of a romantic, isn't he? With Romeo and Juliet, and yeah. And
well, actually, the character Doctor Octopus has always been a romantic.
I suppose so. Yeah, and they did that.
I mean, he like marries Aunt May at one point.
Well, and even when he's Peter Parker in your favourite series, he ends up falling in love with the most unlikely person as Peter, but because he's Dr. Octopus, obviously that's his consciousness inside. So yeah, he is quite a romantic. He's always looking for love, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then we end with evil Alfred laughing at the end of this episode. I always thought like that's what evil Alfred would sound like with his laugh.
Well, I have to go back and listen to it in the mindset of that this is Alfred.
Yeah, you will. And that is the end of the episode. So, not a bad one, not an amazing one. We certainly had better so far with the Spider Slayer ones being far better, but it was cool.
Any episode that has no Kingpin in it, I'm going to be like, where's Kingpin?
True. That is very true.
Five! Were you in today's episode, Spidey? I was not.
Sir, it was all about Dr. Octopus, who's apparently French.
Smite, the only French octopus I would like is ones that are still wriggling on my plate.
I believe that is actually an Asian cuisine, Smite. Not a French one.
But I would like snails as well.
But now that you mention seafood, Smite, one really fancies putting a bib on at the Red Lobster.
Oh my god, Kingpin at Red Lobster. Yes, please. That would be jokes.
Endless breadsticks, Mike, at the Red Lobster.
He goes up to the tank. He's like, I would like that one. He's waving at me.
It looks a bit like you, Smite.
Immobile.
Oh.
What? He's trapped. The lobster's trapped in a tank.
I get the joke.
Not going anywhere, Smythe, is what I'm getting at.
Oh my god, stop it.
Basically, what I'm saying is that you are paraplegic, Spidey.
And so is this lobster after I eat it. Oh, fucking hell. All right, let's move on to our fun little games. Shall we start with the censor thwip for this episode before we go into all the categories, yeah?
Sure.
All right, let's do that first.
This is a joke, right? Oh, this is not a joke. Hey, I got First Amendment rights.
We just amended them.
Wait a minute, looks like I was mistaken.
Nothing personal, webhead.
Well, isn't this the story of my life? So, you don't like names, huh? Well, that's too bad, Frogface. Because to me, you're nothing but a two-bit, no-account, second-rate, sewer-breath baboon with the brain of a pigeon and the face of an eel.
Stop it!
Okay, so Censor Thrip, every time we review an episode, for all those joining us for the first time, this show had extreme guidelines. They had to follow it in order for it to be an episode that can air on television. Those censorships will go through. In this case, most like all the other episodes we reviewed, besides one thing I caught, unfortunately there is no break of censorship in this episode, but it is interesting to go through because I cannot believe that the show had no punching whatsoever, meaning that villains or Spider-Man were not allowed to punch people. No use of the words kill, death, or die. So
the disappearance of your father.
As Will just said, we have the disappearance is being used as one. And there was other ones too. I recently heard another one where I was like, oh, that's funny, how they managed to use that. Sometimes they say, like, is someone so still alive, which obviously implies that they're not dead, but they don't get to say dead. Anyway, so we've got no shooting bullets, which is why they're laser guns. There's no blood, or the use of the word blood. No breaking glass, which I was hoping for in this episode because there was lots of explosions, but no, just all rubble, which is far more dangerous and life-threatening. No use of the words radioactive or its other variations. And I was hoping maybe even Dr. Octopus would say radioactive or radiation in this, but he doesn't.
Why are you hoping that they break censorship?
Because it'd just be interesting, because I've seen so many episodes lately where I'm like, they just totally fucking managed to find a place where they could get away with more and more as the show got more and more popular. I think in the first season we're going to very rarely see it. But as they go on, and the show really becomes the show that everyone loved, and there's the toys, and it's just like booming, I think they're like, yeah, okay, fuck it, say blood, or okay, just, I don't know, like have a broken glass like shatter somewhere. I don't give a shit. There's even a few punches thrown at points. But to finish it, no children in peril, no foul language, and no harming pigeons. Spider-Man is pro-pidge. And that is the most important one, and one I never want to see. There are no pigeons harmed in this episode.
Well, what cartoons are harming pigeons?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you like switch the channel and the Hulk's just like crushing them with his fists. Hulk hate pigeon.
Cuts to Kingpin having like a pigeon supper.
Yeah,
What? They're everywhere, Smythe.
they're vermin.
You know they're a delicacy in some countries. And now they're a delicacy in my compound.
I found this one on the roof, Smythe.
Why do you think we live in the Chrysler building, Smythe? I have so many traps set up for all these pigeons.
But sir, we're trying to catch Spider-Man. I will catch Spider-Man when I need, Smythe. Right now I'm eating this delicious, fat, plump pigeon. Alright, you want to play some villains versus villains?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Sacrifices must be made.
You're right on time for your funeral.
We call ourselves Venom.
Okay, so villains versus villains, a list of villains from Spider-Man the Animated Series, excluding a few, because some of them were, let's face it, not a threat at all. Have been taken off the list, so we are left with still quite a long list. They're all going to go head to head. Will and I are going to talk about two random picks that he's going to pick in a moment. Whoever wins will eventually go on to the ultimate showdown, villain versus villain, and the winner will take all. So, you've got quite a number here of things to choose from. The last time we had Hydra Man versus Venom, and Hydra Man took the win, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have, let's see, quite a few, because I'm going to give you some numbers. Alright, what I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to give you number 1 through 5, so pick one of those numbers out of 1 through 5.
3.
3. Okay, we've got the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn. Alright, so we got Norman Osborn versus, now let's see, pick a number 1 through 7.
7.
Ooh, the Green Goblin versus the Rhino. Now, okay, so Green Goblin, let's talk about him first. Norman Osborn, so he's fucking crazy because of the Goblin gas, which also gives him enhanced super strength, so he's very strong. And along with an arsenal of weaponry from the glider, the bombs. Norman Osborn is also very intelligent. He's an evil genius. So we've got a super strong, super smart, evil being on a floating device with a load of bombs.
Yeah, he wins.
Versus Rhino, who's an idiot.
Throw a rock at it.
Yes, an idiot. However, his hide is impenetrable.
Yeah, but he can be stopped.
Yeah, he can. I mean, if Goblin's
His whole face is open. His hide may be impenetrable. You could just shoot him in the fucking head.
That's true. And if Goblin would hit him with some...
I got a big pumpkin bomb.
And chuck it at his eyes.
Yeah, it is a pretty... Now I think about it, as much as I do love the Rhino, he is all strength and he's no brains whatsoever. And Goblin would...
I love the Rhino as well. He's one of my favourites.
Yeah, but Goblin would stop him quite quickly because he would float above and fire a bomb at his head, and that's that's the end of the Rhino. I mean, even if Rhino manages to swat a few out the way, he's still going to get outsmarted. All right, ring the bell. Easy win. Green Goblin.
He could also just pick up Rhino by like his foot or his horn on his head and fly him high in the sky and just drop him into the ocean where he would sink and he would drown.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gobby, easy win for Gobby then. Okay.
Drink that, you bitch!
Okay. Moving on. Amazing Friends fight.
The name's Daredevil.
I punish those who prey on the innocent.
Meet the new champion of the Allied Forces, Captain America.
What I smell is trouble. It's clobbering time!
So, same premise as before, except for with Spider-Man's allies from the show. I'm going to give you... Pick a number between 4 and 10.
6.
Doctor Strange. Versus... Let's do 10 through 14.
10.
Doctor Strange versus Wolverine.
Well, I mean, my first thought immediately was like, oh, Wolverine, impenetrable adamantium. Like,
Yeah.
He'll keep coming for him, but I mean, what is this, a fight to the death, or is it to defeat someone? Because I think Doctor Strange he's smarter than him. He has magic.
He can use the portals to move Wolverine around. Although Wolverine could smell a trick because he could smell who... Like if Doctor Strange tried to create a mirage or create some illusion or put him in some sort of virtual reality, he'd still be able to sniff out where Doctor Strange is because of Wolverine's super enhanced senses as well. So there is that fact. As you said, he can regenerate... Adamantium. I love Wolverine so much. I love Doctor Strange too, but...
Depends on what we're talking about by a battle. Because at the end of the day, Doctor Strange would be very good at evading him, but stopping Wolverine? Can't do that.
Yeah, but he could though, because he could put Wolverine into some, like, endless...
That's evading.
Yeah, I suppose it's evading. Well, not if he put him in some, like, endless loop or something, or...
That's just evading. It's like, I put you here, that's the end of that. I mean, I guess you could do that, but then again, Doctor Strange isn't that powerful, otherwise all of his problems would be solved by, and I put you in an endless void.
Yeah, that's true.
You can call me Dr. Endless Void. Endless Void, I've come to bargain.
I think that eventually Doctor Strange's magic and his wits would run out because Wolverine's so relentless and persistent, and he wouldn't be able to be stopped.
It's his persistence. I feel like Doctor Strange would be like, that'd be the end of that, and then Wolverine would have gotten out of it, and he'd be having tea. He's like, oh shit, he's coming again, and then he would send him somewhere else, and it would just keep happening until one day he's like, I knew it was a bub.
Having tea. He's just like,
tea.
I've just buried you under 6,000 feet of earth. How have you come back? I'm just trying to sit down and have a lovely cuppa.
Yeah.
All right, so I think Wolverine will win, yeah?
I think in the long run, Wolverine would win.
Yeah.
I think Doctor Strange would beat him. I think he can only, like I said, evade him and trick him, but that's not defeat.
Yes, it's not defeat. No, I think, and we're talking about the animated series versions as well, not just all of them. So I think at the end of the day, Wolverine would win this. All right, ring the bell. Wolverine is going to win.
Just keep coming back, going, let's go, bub.
All right, cool. Okay, so we've got new fights next week to continue, and we've got our last category, which is the Daily Bugle Fact of the Day.
Now let's see who's under that mask. I'm shocked and you're gonna be too.
I guess it really does pay to practice shoddy journalism. Keep it up, JJ.
I have waited for this for some time.
Okay, I'm going to give you some numbers again. Why don't you pick 10? Pick any number between 10 and 15.
11.
11. So number 11, we've got the creative team decided not to use Gwen Stacy in this series because they did not want to use a character that was dead in the comics for over 20 years, and longtime fans would expect her to eventually die. So she would have an inevitable target on her over her head saying she's going to die. And because of this decision, many of the stories were changed to the events happening to Felicia Hardy or Mary Jane Watson instead.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense, and I would love to see Gwen, but that is a very good point, actually, that if they did introduce Gwen, you just know, oh, well, she's going to die. That is, everybody knows that story. If anyone that's a fan of Spider-Man would know that Gwen Stacy's going to die.
Well, as a kid, I didn't know who Gwen Stacy was until I started reading Spider-Man in my teens, because she wasn't in the animated series, which is how I learned all my Spider-Man lore.
True. Now, I will say that technically she is in the animated series, and she is in the Spider Wars, or the Spider-Verse episode.
Oh, is she like a different Peter Parker's girlfriend on a different planet or something?
She is indeed, yeah. I just totally forgot about that, and I just saw it where another Peter Parker, which is like the Iron Spider-Man, he's got the metal suit or whatever.
Yeah, we had a gigantic toy of that one.
We had a massive toy of that one. Yeah, he was like a 10 or 12-inch figure or something like that.
Yeah, it's huge.
But yeah, she was in an episode. I totally forgot, but I just saw that one recently, and she helps our Spider-Man, the one we know, escape. Such a good episode. I mean, they're all great in their own right, but some are far better than others, and that was one of the really good ones. So, yeah, I watched that one recently and totally forgot that Gwen was involved. So
that's cool.
It is. Okay, man. That wraps it up with all our categories, and we hope you enjoyed the episode review. We will have next week, hopefully, a guest come on the show, a very popular and well-known Marvel artist besides our co-host here. Is definitely going to come on the show, so hopefully that will be next week. Because you said just before we started recording that he's interested in coming on next week.
Yeah, he said just let me know.
Okay, so let's do that plan for next week, and then after that, obviously another review will be The Menace of Mysterio, which is episode 5 of Spider-Man the Animated Series, where we get our first hear of Greg Berger's Mysterio, which I really enjoyed listening to his impressions on our last interview, and then I immediately watched the episode after interviewing him, and I just got goosebumps. Really cool. So we'll do that, and then I have something that I've been dying to do for weeks and weeks and weeks now, and I'm going to stick to it. After we review the Mysterio episode, we're going to do it because I think it would be very funny. I think it would be great fun, and I'm really looking forward to doing it.
What is it?
The whole point is to build suspense. You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Just like our listeners, you're going to have to wait to find out.
Oh, fuck off.
So, yeah, we'll get to that then. So are you looking forward to that?
I'm looking forward to it. John Romita Jr. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, I'm going to go spend the time with my very alive and what seems like happy cat. So, is there anything that you want to share or chat about before we head off?
I just want to say I'm about a minute out from finishing the second page of issue 2 of Spawn Kills Everyone.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that, man. I'm really looking forward to that. As your brother, I'm very proud of you for working with your idol after, only drawing comics professionally for a year and a half?
Yeah, I'm dope.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, and this has been a year in the making, so really, you were only a professional comic book artist for, 7 months or something until you started working with Todd McFarlane?
Yeah, my life's dope and I do dope shit.
So humble. # humble.
No, I work bloody hard and I deserve what I get.
No, well, a little more humble, I guess, but still you're like...
Well, it's true. I work bloody hard and I deserve what I get.
I know. Even when you're sick and you're miserable, you're still working hard.
I ain't gonna be humble about it. Bitch, I'm working with Todd motherfucking McFarlane.
I had him on my bed sheets and now I'm in bed with him, in a business sense.
And to clear that up, I had his artwork on my bedsheet.
Yeah.
That's how I got the Spawn job.
What, because you bought the only set of bed sheets that just had Todd McFarlane's face on them?
No, I meant like he was in my bed sheets, literally.
Oh.
Yes.
You dreamt that. I know you have. All right.
Yeah. Hearing those docile Canadian tones. Oh.
Oh, go on. Do your Todd then.
No, I'm not. I don't want to jeopardize future work.
Yeah, I figured you wouldn't. I love how you started and you're like, oh, okay, it's being recorded. I'm going to stop.
He's a saint. He's an angel.
All right. Well, we'll come back next week with hopefully an interview with that Marvel artist. Until then, that's all the time we've got for this week. Join us next time where we'll continue talking all things Spider-Man the Animated Series. I've been Alex Robson.
And I've been Will Robson.
And remember, with a great podcast comes great recordability.
Yeah.
Usually you shit on that line, or you make fun of me, or you do.
I'm sorry, I'm literally just finishing this page.
You do a Kingpin impression or something. Instead, you're just like, "Yep, let's wrap this shit up." Bud.
Sorry.
Tune in next time, viewers, for another exciting episode of Spider-Man, the Animated Series podcast. Spike.
Roscoe Lee Brown, as I live and breathe.
Tune in next time for another episode.
And shall we hear from Gilbert Lee before we head off?
Tune in next time for another exciting episode of Spider-Man, who I create. Did I ever tell you how I created?
Yes, Grandpa, you did.
And now, French Dr. Octopus. Tune in next time, you cunt.
Little French tickle from my
I got a little wee tickle in my French world. Yeah.
Will doesn't know I'm called an octopus until he found out that I actually have 8 legs. Or arms.
No, well, I have 8 limbs.
8
Yeah.
legs.
I am an octopus. And I will kill you with my tentacles.
We've gone on way too long. We've got to wrap this shit up.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Butterfly,